Melia here, Use of Force Specialist, Director of Safer Handling. Now, as the summer holidays wane and our tans fade, Inset's loom. Inset stands for In-Service Training in Schools. Here's 10 important points, in my humble opinion, to share with you restraint trainers daring to go in and educate the educators this September. Number 1. Don't turn up looking like you've abseiled in, are there to rob the place or there to arrest someone. First impressions count. Keep your labels on the inside of your clothes. No one needs to see juicy across the trainer's backside, and first impressions count. You're working in close proximity, people, so cleanliness is next to godliness. Number 2, learn your slides so you don't need to look back and cut down on the bullet points. Never read from your slides. Practice to your family can be the worst critics. Your pets, I find the best. If it's good enough for the king to talk to his plants, give it a go. Hotel rooms, cars, until you know your slides verbatim with a quick glance backwards. And use a clicker unless you want to look like the 80s child earning the pocket money. Stories, CVs and anecdotes, make them relative. Nobody needs to hear about the fight you've had in pubs or 10-hour restraints for patients you've been involved with. Reverse it. An icebreaker I like is get the delegates to tell the group a job they used to do. Teachers are like us, the human, with probably way more life experience than you think. In the years I've been doing this, I've met ex-professional sports players, Snow White, or a 2-season veteran of Disney Snow White, a Playboy bunny, and even Wham's PA. You're in their house, mind your P's and Q's, be politically correct, no politics, religion, blasphemy, swearing, think about your colloquialisms and no euphemisms. This is from the moment you're in uniform to the moment it's taken off. Cafes and restaurants have got ears, and I'll never forget the teacher who flipped me the bird in traffic and how mortified she looked as I got shown into her office. Language and semantics. I've changed my stance on this over the last few years as we've seen the word restraint switch for clinical holding, positive handling or therapeutic holds, and I've rolled my eyes. But then my company's called Safer Handling, not restraintkids.com. So I'm guilty of seeking a more holistic handle to encapsulate the services we offer. Kids aren't naughty, behaviour challenges us, and terms like self-regulation sit way more comfortably than kicking off. I've got Iris Benson to thank for that one. You can't learn if you're not engaged, so watch for those nodding heads or folded arms. Get up to date. There's always more current terms and invented words for describing conditions or dis-ease. Try and learn them and do your research. The term handicapped originally came from disabled people not being able to work and having to go cap in hand. So words change for a reason. Using the term neurodivergent instead of has autism or any of the other acronyms intended to describe the various disease or label conditions. These are daunting times for us millennials, but don't worry. If you are accused of offending someone by misgendering them, for example, just apologise and ask how they'd like to be addressed. It's not a crime yet, in England anyway, I think. On the technique front, plan single person interventions. Avoid them. They're hazardous manual handling activities. Yet an unplanned member of staff taking action on their own might save someone's life. So principles over techniques. Taking children to the floor, face up, face down, let's just avoid it. And seats are for de-escalation, not for restraining people in. A safety pod is a much better option, but then so is containing rather than restraining. And if you're not allowed to lock doors, then how do we lock the gates and fences? It's about proportionality. Don't carry children. Again, hazardous manual handling activity at best and career-ending accident at worst. The 4-year-old being lifted out of a room won't always weigh that much or be that manageable. So be careful how you program their responses and which groove you cut for them. Breakaway techniques. Leave Muhammad Ahmad Bruce Lee at home. Teach appropriate holds for the size of children, and same with breaking away. So relevant to the setting. I've seen people spring into fighting stances when simulating breaking the grip of a small child holding clothing. Make it relevant. However, don't toe the party line and pretend that pain or painful techniques where absolutely necessary are banned. Staff need to know in an emergency they've got the power to use reasonable force to protect themselves or others. For example, the CPS include the use of improvised weapons when advocating self-defense, especially against weapons. And be sensitive when discussing current issues. Images of injury, avoid showing footage of restraints, it's bad taste. The mind's eye creates a far greater image than any media ever could. And smile, it's a sensitive subject to teach and people need to feel reassured and not frightened, and don't mention all the holidays.